Right now, they're preparing for search and rescue missions by land, sea, and air in Florida as Hurricane Ian hammers the Sunshine State.
We're not standing idly by here in Wisconsin. We'll introduce you to some of the people packing up to head south to help with the recovery.
And defendant becomes defense attorney with a Waukesha County judge allowing Darrell Brooks to represent himself at trial next week. You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
Thanks for staying with us at 5, everyone. Hurricane Ian has officially made landfall on Florida's western coast. This is a live look at Bradenton, south of Tampa. You can see how strong the winds are. Officials say residents there are bracing for power outages, flooding, and even possible tornadoes. The Category 4 storm is expected to cause catastrophic damage, and President Biden says the federal government is on high alert, promising resources to help. FEMA says it has generators ready to restore power to critical infrastructure. And 3.7 million meals and 3.5 million liters of water are standing by in Alabama. The agency's top priority right now is search and rescue.
These teams will coordinate search and rescue efforts by land, air, and sea. We have 128,000 gallons of fuel remained ready for rapid deployment.
More than 2,000 flights to and from the region were canceled today alone. And if the storm stays on its current track, flooding could cripple major highways, straining supply chains to and from the state of Florida.
And the National Hurricane Center says the eye wall of this storm is extremely dangerous. Gloria Pasmino takes us to Tampa, where Hurricane Ian has already drained waters from the area.
It may appear to be calm at some point. You may just be in the eye of the storm, and the backside of that will get very, very nasty.
Hurricane Ian packing winds and rains that officials warn will cause catastrophic floods and life-threatening storm surge.
That's where we could really see those 12 to 18 feet of storm surge inundation above ground level. That's 3 times as tall as I am. So that's really an unsurvivable circumstance.
Ian caused a nationwide blackout in Cuba on Tuesday, and now Florida is dealing with mass power outages.
We also have line workers and line men and line women coming from 27 other states. They're positioned at 24 different locations throughout the state.
Schools, supermarkets, airports, and theme parks across the state have closed. Sarasota's mayor deciding to pull police officers from the city's streets due to the dangerous conditions.
At this point, all we have is ourselves as a community, so take care of your neighbors because we're in this together and we're going to make it through.
Cities across the Sunshine State bracing for Ian's impact.
We are about to feel the brunt of a near Category 5 hurricane in our area.
In Tampa, Florida, I'm Gloria Pasmino reporting.
And Julian Seawright joins us now with more on the path of Hurricane Ian. Julian?
That's right, Eric. As of right now, we are watching for Hurricane Ian, which is just north of Port Charlotte, which has moved itself landfall about 3 hours ago as a Category 4 hurricane. Now, as of right now, it's starting to lose just a bit of its intensity in terms of its winds. It sits now at 130 miles per hour sustained winds, when it was 140 just a few moments ago. But now it's still a very slow moving storm. You can see the eye is just into the center of the southern side of Port Charlotte and just north of Fort Myers. The good news is we are looking at it to not hit very head on for Tampa, but you can see just that outer band of rainfall, which is bringing in the concerns of, once again, flooding, storm surge, and the winds from this hurricane, which is continuing to move very slow, especially since it is such a slow moving storm. We are going to be watching for it to really be bringing in the potential of flooding throughout the course of the nightly hours. Now, we're going to be talking more about this in just a few moments. Until then, let's toss it back to you guys.
All right, Julian, thank you. Power outages and utility issues are all but guaranteed in Florida over the next few days. Also guaranteed, some help from faraway places, including folks from right here in southern Wisconsin. Andrew Banstra spoke with some of them earlier today. Andrew?
More than 3 dozen linesmen from places like Arcadia, Waunakee, and Sun Prairie are headed to work on power restoration in Florida. We checked in with the team at Sun Prairie this afternoon. They'll get to Chattanooga on Thursday, standing by for the all clear to head into the disaster zone. They expect to arrive in Florida early morning on Friday, where they'll assist local crews in following the storm's path, analyzing the damage, and restoring power along the way.
Could be a range of doing line work, could be doing tree clearance. So obviously the trees come down on the lines, winds take the lines down themselves, so it could be replacing poles, restringing wire that's come down.
Crews from Minnesota and Wisconsin will meet in Beloit early tomorrow morning to start their convoy. They'll drive trucks with boom lifts to navigate treacherous conditions and to restore power. Out-of-state crews typically report to local crews for guidance and assignments. Rick told me that if, for instance, all of Sun Prairie's lines were down, it would be nearly impossible to restore it with their 8-man crew. That's why they view it as their duty to help others. Tonight at 6, we'll hear from some more volunteers who will provide a different kind of fuel for people down in Florida.
Andrew, thank you. And in addition, Red Cross volunteers here in Wisconsin will head down to Florida this week. They'll be spending about 2 weeks helping communities impacted by Hurricane Ian. Volunteers will drive an emergency response vehicle down today and tomorrow to bring residents food, water, blankets, cots, anything else they might need.
When Wisconsin has issues, those organizations within the Red Cross, they'll come up and help us. So it's really helping one community to another community.
And the Red Cross is always looking for volunteers and donations. If you'd like to help, you can visit redcross.org. Well, let's check back in with Julian now for the latest on what's happening in our area. Julian?
Well, we have an alert day in our forecast for us, and that is for the frost advisory, which is going to be impacting all of southern Wisconsin starting tonight at around 1 a.m. until 8 a.m. going into our Thursday morning. Temperatures are going to be dropping into the mid-30s once again, folks. And by the time you're heading out the door, make sure you and your child are going to be dressed properly because it is going to be quite chilly for this time of year. And again, it is going to be encompassing all of southern Wisconsin. Our friends in Monroe, Juneau, and Adams County are going to have a freeze warning for the same time period, which is going to start at 1 a.m. until 8 a.m. going into our Thursday as well. We're looking for temperatures to be into those mid-30s by the time we get into the overnight hours. We'll go into more detail about this in just a few moments. Until then, let's go ahead and toss it back to you guys.
All right, Julian, thank you. New at 5, a Fort Atkinson home is considered a total loss after a fire broke out. This happened in the 400 block of Edward Street just before noon. Crews arrived to find the porch of the home fully engulfed with the fire spreading then to the second floor. A woman was hospitalized for smoke inhalation. A cat was killed in the fire. That fire remains under investigation. No word yet on a cause.
Today, a judge ruled the man charged in connection with last year's Waukesha parade tragedy can represent himself in trial. 40-year-old Darrell Brooks faces 77 charges, including 6 counts of first-degree intentional homicide. He initially pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, but later withdrew that plea. The judge had initially delayed ruling on Brooks' request to represent himself, but the request was granted after he filed a waiver of his right to an attorney this morning. Brooks' trial is scheduled to begin on Monday.
Well, if you expect the race for governor in Wisconsin to be a close one, the numbers seem to back that up. Just in today, the latest fundraising totals. Political reporter Will Keneally looks at what we can learn from how much Tony Evers and Tim Michels have raised. Will?
That's right. So the top line numbers for the governor show that the race is pretty close. Incumbent Governor Tony Evers has raised $4.6 million in this period, which looks at the first month after the August primary, while Republican challenger Tim Michels edged him out with $5.4 million. The key thing here, though, is that most of that money comes from Michels himself. He gave his campaign $5 million. And so if you look at the individual donations, though, Evers has a slight lead. And the governor is also spending more. In the first month, Evers spent nearly $6 million, and he still has $6 million in the bank. On the Republican side, Michels spent $4.4 million in that first month after the August primary.
Well, it shows that Tony Evers is doing what he needs to do to stay competitive in this race. And I think he's going to raise enough money to keep it competitive, and it's going to be a close race down to the wire here. It's a close race in the money field, and it's going to be a close race in the vote field, too.
And so that mirrors what we've seen in a lot of recent polling, that this will be a very close race. The Marquette poll from earlier this month, Evers was ahead of Michels 47-44, but that was well within the margin of error. We'll have a full breakdown of this, the fundraising numbers in the governor and AG race, online at channel3000.com.
All right, Will, thank you. A groundbreaking ceremony held today in Sun Prairie for Cornerstone's world headquarters campus. Cornerstone supplies and creates architectural and fine arts projects across the U.S. and around the world. The $19 million project doubles the capacity of its current plant on Atlas Avenue in Madison. At the event, Sun Prairie's mayor spoke about the importance of the project.
What you're doing in this community and with the building that you're going to build and the work that you do and the work you do in your business, all of that coming to this community is something very special, and that makes this groundbreaking special.
The project will include a 65,000 square foot, 2-story stone and steel production facility, a gallery, design space, wellness spaces, and much more.
Teens who are thinking about a job in home building attended a career day today hosted by the Madison Area Builders Association. Over 200 students had the opportunity to walk through the building process of a residential home. Builders talked through each stage of home building and highlighted opportunities in the building industry. This is the 8th time they've held this event and their first time going house to house showing the process.
Still to come, Julian has more on Hurricane Ian and also our local forecast next at 5. Plus, a new push from the Biden administration to end hunger across the U.S. We'll take a look at his plan.
And later, a community blood drive honors a local man who spent his life helping others. We'll have his story tonight at 6.
And a strong day of trading finally on Wall Street. The Dow gaining almost 549 points. The NASDAQ jumps 222. S&P adds 72. We'll be right back.
Ron Johnson and China. Here's how it works. While in the Senate, Johnson made $57 million from a family business whose growth was directly linked to China. He invested in Chinese factories, and Johnson's family business got $50 million in loans from the Bank of China. Johnson pushed for shipping American jobs overseas, while he got rich. Ron Johnson's out for himself, not us. S&P is responsible for the content of this ad.
At TSR, we transform your old, beat-up concrete into a beautiful, durable surface in one day. Hi, I'm Joey with TSR Concrete Coatings. We specialize in garages, patios, pool decks, basements, and more. We don't just coat over your old concrete. We start by grinding it down, then we apply the base coat and chip and seal it with our own proprietary sealant that will never chip or peel. Our coatings are beautiful, durable, ridiculously easy to clean, and are backed by our exclusive lifetime warranty. Our in-house team is ready to answer any questions that you have before and after the install. And right now on all projects, we're offering 15% off. Call the number shown below or visit our website for your new floor today. One day floor.
Finding the Honda you really want just got easier. With a longer limited warranty, so long. Downloadable inspection reports, so you see what we see. Downloadable. And complimentary oil changes within the first year. That's what I'm talking about. You've never been more at peace than with Honda Certified Pre-Owned.
Ron Johnson's at it again, lying about my taxes. Let's be clear, my taxes are paid in full, but there were times I was getting by on peanut butter sandwiches. And that's why I support a tax cut for the middle class. Put more money in your pockets, because I know how hard you work. But Johnson used his Senate seat to write a loophole that gave huge tax cuts to himself and his biggest donors, leaving us with crumbs. And that's how we get left behind. I'm Mandela Barnes, and I approve this message.
You might have seen these ads on your TV criticizing Tim Michaels over allegations related to the business that he owns. Tonight at 6, we'll explore how true those claims might be on this week's Reality Check.
As political ads bombard you with campaign promises and claims to capture your vote, News 3 Now gives you a reality check, clarifying the candidates' messages and finding the facts to help you make informed choices. Reality Check, tonight on News 3 Now at 6. You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
Welcome back. A new warning for U.S. citizens in Russia. The U.S. Embassy is urging Americans in Russia to leave immediately. The message comes as Russia begins a draft of its citizens. The State Department says dual U.S. citizens could be forced to enlist, with Russia refusing to acknowledge their American citizenship. This comes as an investigation is now underway into suspected sabotage of the Nord Stream gas pipelines running from Russia to Germany under the Baltic Sea. Video shows the aftermath of what's believed to be underwater explosions and 3 leaks discovered around the same time.
Putin has weaponized energy, and we have said this many times before. This just drives home the importance of our efforts to work together to get alternative gas supplies to Europe.
The Biden administration's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, says the U.S. will support the investigation and will continue work to safeguard Europe's energy security.
More than 13 million households in the U.S. are food insecure. That's according to the Department of Agriculture. Today, President Biden laid out his multi-billion-dollar plan to end hunger over the next 8 years. Skylar Henry has more from the White House.
At the first White House conference on hunger in more than 50 years, President Biden announced an $8 billion investment aimed at ending food insecurity by 2030.
In America, no child should go to bed hungry.
The president says the funding comes from more than 100 private businesses and organizations, with the added goals of promoting better nutrition and exercise.
Physical activity is part of living a healthy lifestyle and avoiding diet-related diseases.
President Biden said meeting his goal requires bipartisanship, and he called on Congress to expand last year's child tax credit permanently.
Overwhelmingly, working families use the child tax credit to buy food and other basic needs for their families. And it helped cut child poverty by nearly 50% in the United States.
Food insecurity actually went up this summer compared to spring 2021. So that means we're doing worse now than in the middle of COVID-19.
Mona Shah of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, a philanthropic organization focused on health, says inflation is a main driver of that increase.
High food price inflation is really getting in the way for families to access food. Also, other elevated costs such as transportation and rent, which most likely eroded food budgets in the past year.
The president has also proposed changes to federal food programs like SNAP and expanding access to free meals in schools. But those would require action from Congress. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
Latest data from the Department of Agriculture also shows that food insecurity increased from 20 to 21 in households with no children, especially for women living alone, as well as for elderly people who live alone.
Here is a live look at Madeira Beach in Florida. Hurricane Ian, still a Category 4 storm. Winds reached 155 miles per hour earlier today, and the storm is still strengthening. So let's get the latest on it from Julian Seawright, watching it very closely. Julian?
That's right, and we're going to start with the satellite image that we have of Ian as of right now. You can see just how big of a monster that this is. It's pushing itself into southwestern Florida. You can see just a bit of where that eye is as well, which made landfall into Punta Gorda, Florida, and is continuing to move at a north-northeasterly track. And all of the hurricane warnings are pretty much up and down from Tampa Bay into Fort Myers. And then just to the southern tip, we're looking at tropical storm warnings in effect. But we can't even forget about the eastern side. Remember, this is a north-northeasterly track, so we'll be starting to impact areas just like Daytona Beach and even Jacksonville by the time we get into our late Thursday and Friday as well. But let's take a look at what we're seeing as of right now. The winds have died down to about 130 miles per hour, which means it is about 1 mile per hour off from being a Category 3 hurricane force. And as it continues to move north-northeast at 8 miles per hour, that just goes to show you that it is a slow-moving storm. And you can see that heavy band of rainfall just to the northwest, just outside of Sarasota, is really where we're going to be looking at the concerns for storm surge as it continues to move off from the Gulf, and also for flooding and wind concerns in itself. And as of right now, it's going to be on that northwest easterly track. So what does that mean? By the time we get into the overnight hours, hours. We are looking forward to start the weekend to about a Category 1 type of hurricane, just as it's southwest of Daytona Beach. But by the time it gets into our Thursday evening, we are looking forward to return into the Atlantic and then move itself back into parts of eastern Georgia and even into South Carolina. It could make impacts for Charleston as well. By this time, it will more likely be a tropical storm, but we still have to watch out for that area as well as we get into the rest of the next 2 days. Now let's make it more local here. We're talking about an alert day in the forecast for us because we have areas of frost to be likely for us once again, as we have temperatures dropping into the mid-30s once we hit the overnight hours. For tonight into our Thursday morning is going to be the times of concern for the chilly conditions. But all of southern Wisconsin is under a frost advisory, with our friends into Monroe, Juneau, and Adams County into a freeze warning by the time we get into our tomorrow morning. Temperatures into the mid-30s for Madison and for Janesville, going to be into the upper 30s, even closer towards Platteville. But we're all going to be seeing chilly conditions heading into tonight, as we have plenty of clear sky for our overnights. That's going to be opening the door for us to see those chilly conditions by the time we wake up for our Thursday morning. So make sure that you are dressed properly, and you're going to have to bring out the winter coats because it's going to be rather chilly once we get into our morning hours. The good news is by lunchtime, we are looking for improvements. Mild temperatures will return as we get that southerly flow, bringing in temperatures into those 60s for us by the time we get into our Thursday evening, and then transitioning into our Thursday night. It's not going to be nearly as chilly as it has been for our Tuesday and our Wednesday nights. Outside of that, heading towards the weekend, the good news is, folks, we are looking for more milder trend, which will be bringing our temperatures back into the 60s. And on top of it, we're actually looking for our weekend to be on the dry side as well, as we're going to be looking at the upper 60s and plenty of sunshine from Saturday into our Sunday, where we could see a couple of clouds starting to roll back in. Outside of our 10-day forecast, here's a quick look at our traffic. Still rather smooth on the Beltline, though it's a bit slow on our ramps for Fish Hatchery and for John Nolan Drive. And as we take a look at our I-39 north and southbound, still smooth as butter as we get into our 5 p.m. commutes. That's going to do it for our weather and traffic. Over to you guys.
All right, Julian, thank you. We have all felt the cost of inflation when we go food shopping. Consumer Reports has some ways to save at the grocery store. Next at 5.
News 3 Now First Warn Weather is brought to you by Lazy Boy Home Furnishings and Decor.
Discover a shopping and design experience as comfortable as the furniture. Lazy Boy Home Furnishings and Decor. Schedule your free design consultation today.
Did you know Tim Michaels said people shouldn't be openly gay in public?
But I think when you bring it out of your house and onto the public street, that's where I differ.
Is that the kind of divisive radical you want as your governor?
Save on your next appliance upgrade with 11% off everything at Menards. Upgrade your home with top appliance brands including KitchenAid, Maytag, Whirlpool, Amana, and Criterion. All appliances are now 11% off. Enjoy softer skin and cleaner clothes with Morton's Demand Control Wi-Fi Water Softener. Integrated Wi-Fi capabilities allow you to monitor your salt and water levels anywhere, straight from your smartphone. Get 11% off all Morton products now at Menards.
Save big money at Menards.
Wisconsin is a home of workers. We know what needs to get done, and we do it. Yet, we've been hit hard, some harder than others. Our contact may be limited, but we still can lift each other up. The Keep Wisconsin Warm Cool Fund and your local energy providers are working together to help keep your heat and power on. You may not ask for it, but we want you to know we're here.
Mass shootings, school shootings, and violent crime are on the rise, and Ron Johnson is making things worse. He abandoned law enforcement, voting against funding for the police, preventing local departments from hiring more officers, but supported flooding our streets with guns and making it easier for violent criminals and domestic abusers to get them. Ron Johnson is failing to keep us safe. Every Town for Gun Safety Victory Fund is responsible for the content of this ad.
This is how it feels to do more with less asthma, thanks to Dupixent. Dupixent is not for sudden breathing problems. It's an add-on treatment for specific types of moderate to severe asthma and can help improve lung function for better breathing in as little as 2 weeks. Dupixent helps prevent asthma attacks and can even reduce or eliminate oral steroids. Imagine that. Dupixent can cause allergic reactions that can be severe. Get help right away if you have rash, chest pain, worsening shortness of breath, tingling, or numbness in your limbs. Tell your doctor about new or worsening joint aches and pain or a parasitic infection. Don't change or stop asthma medicines, including steroids, without talking to your doctor. Who knows what you can do when you do more with less asthma? Ask your asthma specialist about Dupixent.
Did you know Tim Michaels wants to criminalize abortion, even for pregnant rape victims?
But are you willing to support exceptions for rape or incest?
That's correct.
Is that the kind of divisive radical you want as your governor?
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
Seeing the impact of rising costs, a recent government report says prices for groceries jumped more than 13% in the past year. And that has everybody looking for ways to save. Some tips from Consumer Reports. The best time to shop is Wednesdays, 8 to 10 a.m., because that's when the stores are restocking for the Thursday to Sunday rush, where they do 80% of their business. If possible, shop on the final 4 days of the month. That's where you get the deepest discounts.
And how do you cash in on special member deals?
Oh, this is where you're going to need your phone. There's so many stores that offer special member pricing if you join their savings club, and it translates into real value in the store and sometimes even at the pump.
Brian Vines with Consumer Reports also says unit pricing is a great way to save. Buy non-perishables like water in bulk, and online savings apps can save your family hundreds of dollars a year.
And we'll have a final check of your first warn forecast in just a moment.
Remember this? Forecasts are predicting an unreasonably cold and snowy winter. Now's the time to winter-proof your home with USA Insulation. 35% more efficient than traditional insulation. Our foam in your walls keeps the cold air out and your warm air in. It's like putting a coat around your entire home. Call now before winter and get a $500 early bird discount.
USA Insulation.
I'm Ken Pearrett, and this is my John Deere. We run about 3,000 acres of crop ground and 100 head of beef cattle. Number one thing that stands out when it comes to Sloan's is service. And we had some issues with the new ExactEmerge planter, and Kyle himself, the store manager, and one of the lead mechanics on the planters, came down on a Sunday afternoon, and they got us going. And that's going above and beyond. And that's why I think Sloan's first.
When cleaning your air ducts, it's important to clean the entire system. An air duct cleaning from Stanley Steamer removes pounds of trapped dirt, dust, and allergens from your home completely. The cleaning improves your home's indoor air quality, keeps your home cleaner longer, and can even improve the efficiency of your HVAC system. We want you to have the cleanest and healthiest indoor air possible. So call for a free inspection today.
Stanley Steamer gets your home cleaner.
Helpful hints for you from Meineke. It's important to monitor the tread level and tire pressure on your car's tires. Don't wait until it's too late. Stop into Meineke and get your tires inspected today. If you need new tires, we have a special offer for you. Get free mounting and balancing of 4 new General or Continental brand tires with purchase of our complete tire installation package. That's a savings of almost $100. Our tire installation package includes mounting and balancing, road hazard, tire disposal, and wheel alignment. Set up your appointment at Meineke.com today.
Wells Fargo lets you know where you stand with your FICO credit score. What if you knew where you stood with everything, like your future in-laws?
Hope you like cats.
I hope your parents like me. They're whispering.
The kid is like
Oh, can they tell I'm allergic? Tears of joy.
Welcome to the family.
Like knowing where you stand? When it comes to your credit score, you can with Wells Fargo. The radical left hate America and riot in our streets. They indoctrinate our children to hate America, stoking fear and envy with their lies and deceptions. Their radical woke agenda and divisive politics are tearing our country apart. Here's Mandela Barnes.
The founder of this nation, awful.
Mandela Barnes is a radical leftist. He supports their woke agenda that's causing you and your family so much pain.
I'm Ron Johnson, and I approve this message.
We've got a lot of news tonight. Hurricane Ian making landfall as a Category 4 hurricane. The historic storm surge swallowing parts of Naples and Fort Myers. And the warning tonight that the weather lashing almost all of Florida is only going to get worse. We have full coverage tonight right here on the CBS Evening News.
Here is a final look from Bradenton in western Florida. You can follow along with the latest updates on the hurricane on channel3000.com and on our news app. And tonight at 6, find out how Madison companies are helping with the relief efforts.
Well, let's head to meteorologist Julian Seawright. Latest check of our forecast. Julian?
Well, we're going to first start with Hurricane Ian. As a reminder, it is a Category 4 hurricane that's continuing to move very slowly at 8 miles per hour. But for our local forecast, folks, just remember to dress for the cold going into our Thursday morning. We will warm up, but for the rest of the weekend, we are looking for some more pleasantries, those upper 60s and sunshine.
All right, CBS Evening News coming your way next from Florida. And we're back in 30 minutes with News 3 Now at 6.